Everyone. I want to begin by sincerely thanking the ministry, my colleagues from the government of Suriname for asking me on behalf of the Cartagena Convention Secretariat to provide a short presentation, which I hope will assist in your ongoing efforts as it relates to marine pollution and biodiversity projects being implemented, not just in the region, but specifically in Suriname, and to show the relationships, particularly between some of the projects funded by the Global Environmental Facility. I've titled the presentation the Cartagena Convention, Supporting Biodiversity Management, Pollution Reduction, and Environmental Awareness in the Wider Caribbean Region, which represents our major area of focus. I'd like to begin perhaps with a bit of history of the Cartagena Convention Secretariat, which is based in Kingston, Jamaica, and the Caribbean Environment Program. And it all began in 1974 when the United Nations Environment Program launched the Regional Seas programs, which to now one could argue have been one of the most significant achievements in the past 4 decades, recognizing the importance of Caribbean Sea to tourism, to fisheries, to maritime transportation, and to safeguarding coastal areas. In 1981, UNEP then established the program for the wider Caribbean region, which was entitled the Caribbean Environment Program, as one of its 18 administered regional seas programs. In 1983, countries of the wider Caribbean then adopted the first regional legally binding convention of its kind to protect the Caribbean Sea, and that's the Cartagena Convention. In 1986, the Caribbean Regional Coordinating Unit, CAR-RCU, was established in Kingston, Jamaica, and this is where it's been until today. It represents the Secretariat for the Cartagena Convention and the Caribbean Environment Program. The government of Suriname is actually a member of the Caribbean Environment Program as one of the 28 countries within the wider Caribbean region. It had initially signed the convention, but is not yet a full contracting party. And in fact, there are only two countries at the moment, Haiti and Suriname, who are not yet parties to the Cartagena Convention. Suriname, however, already contributes annually to our Caribbean Trust Fund, which is the financial mechanism which runs the Secretariat in Kingston, Jamaica. So there would be no additional financial obligations from formal ratification by the government of Suriname. So what is the Cartagena Convention? Our mission is to promote regional cooperation for the protection and development of the wider Caribbean region, with the objective being to achieve sustainable development of marine and coastal resources in the wider Caribbean region through effective, integrated management that at the same time allows for economic growth and sustainable livelihoods. Currently, we have 26 governments within the wider Caribbean region who are parties to the Cartagena Convention and the Oil Spills Protocol. We have 17 governments who are contracting parties to the Specially Protected Areas and Wildlife Protocol, which entered into force in 2000. And we have 15 parties who are contracting parties to the Land-Based Sources and Activities of Marine Pollution Protocol. Each of those protocols are supported by specialized regional activity centers. The Center for the Oil Spills, RAC Rempatec Carib, is located in Curacao. The Center for SPORAC, is located in Guadeloupe, while we have two regional activity centers which support the work of the Pollution Protocol, CMAB, based in Cuba, and the Institute of Marine Affairs, based in Trinidad and Tobago. What are some of the key obligations of the Cartagena Convention? And there are many articles. I won't go through all of them, but I'll highlight the ones that might be of of most relevance to the work that we have been doing with the government of Suriname. Article 4 speaks to efforts by all parties to prevent, reduce, and control pollution and to ensure sound environmental management. Several other articles highlight what would be the major focus areas of the convention. Article 7 speaks about pollution from land-based sources, and that eventually led to the development of the land-based and sources of marine pollution protocol. Article 10 speaks to specially protected areas, which then again led to the development of the SPOR protocol. And other articles of interest include Article 12 on environmental impact assessments, Article 13 on scientific and technical cooperation, and Article 22 on transmission of information. Now, fundamental to the work of the Secretariat is a framework that I think is now being commonly applied in most of the assessments that are being done, both at the global level and at the regional level. So now we are not only looking at end-of-pipe treatment, we are trying to identify, for example, what are the main drivers, what are the main causes of the environmental degradation that we're seeing, and in terms of our population growth, in terms of different types of economic activity. And then what are the pressures that these activities are causing on the environment? Is it from land use, change from forest to agriculture? Is it the impact of invasive species, over exploitation of resources and pollution? And then what's the state of our environment? The state of our freshwaters, the state of our biodiversity, and the state of our environment as it relates to pollution. And then this state ultimately has direct negative impacts. Negative impacts on our marine, freshwater, and terrestrial biodiversity, impacts on economic sectors such as agriculture, tourism, fisheries, forestry, mining, and then impacts directly on human health. And importantly then, how do we as a region, how do we as governments respond to these challenges, whether it be through changes in policy, in legislation, in enforcement, in technological solutions, or working directly with the public to have a change of practices and attitudes. The areas that we focus on as a secretariat is quite broad and covers areas such as habitat degradation, looking at issues of erosion, invasive species, sedimentation, areas relating to climate change, most commonly there are issues such as ocean acidification, coral bleaching, issues of governance, where we've worked with governments to improve their policy, institutional, and regulatory frameworks, normally through capacity building and training. Overfishing, while not a direct core responsibility of the Secretariat, is one where we collaborate with agencies such as the Food and Agricultural Organization and the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism. But our two core areas of work would be pollution and habitat degradation. And within the area of pollution, we are looking at both land and marine-based activities, covering a wide range of pollutants, from oil to heavy metals, to marine litter, to ballast water, to sewage. So how exactly is this support provided? I would consider that there are four major areas, one dealing with research and monitoring, one dealing with governance, one dealing with communication, and one dealing with capacity development and training. And as I mentioned, technical support is available through our regional activity centers, but we also work with a range of partner organizations through memorandums of understanding of cooperation. And then, as I mentioned, whereas we are supported financially as a secretariat through the contributions of governments, we then work to develop and design programs and projects and activities funded by donors, including the Global Environment Facility, to provide direct support to governments. And one of the areas, as all of you know, it's very topical now, relates to the blue economy and we've been working with governments to see how can we use blue economy approaches in areas such as fisheries, aquaculture, coastal and marine tourism, maritime transport and shipping, as well as marine renewable energy. We believe that if we focus heavily on the two core areas of biodiversity, improving biodiversity management and reducing pollution, we can also increase or enhance these blue economy opportunities. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some of the projects and activities, and the Caribbean Large Marine Ecosystem Plus project is a 5-year project. It's a second phase. There had been a Caribbean Large Marine Ecosystem original. The project is implemented by the United Nations Development Program and is based, the project unit is based in Cartagena, Colombia. But there are many agencies and organizations, including ourselves as a Secretariat, who've been working to support the implementation of the CLME Plus project. So we have both intergovernmental bodies such as CARICOM and the OECS. We have technical agencies such as the Cartagena Convention Secretariat. And we've been working with governments in the region on the 3 core areas of pollution, habitat degradation, and unsustainable fisheries. And because those were identified as the main root causes of the degraded coastal and marine ecosystems in the Caribbean: marine pollution, habitat degradation, and unsustainable fisheries. And 2 elements that we also identified were the inadequate access to data and information and inadequate consideration of valuation. So what do we have now through the CLME Plus is what's called a strategic action program and a vision that there is a healthy marine environment that's providing benefits and the livelihoods for the well-being of the people of the region. And we have several projects, many of which are funded by the Global Environment Facility, working on this. And as Cartagena Convention Secretariat, we have been involved in some of these projects. This strategic action program has been endorsed by 35 ministers representing as many as 26 different countries, and it's forming a basis for collaboration among many of the agencies that are involved. And in fact, one of the projects that we are working with under the CLME Plus project is this ecosystem-based management project, which is taking place in Suriname, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago. And it's an important demonstration or pilot project for the CLME Plus because it's attempting to bring an integration across the different thematic areas of biodiversity and pollution. And in fact, moving forward, we believe that this integrated type of approach is going to be needed for us to sustainably manage our coastal and marine ecosystems. So ecosystem-based management approaches, marine spatial planning, and integrated coastal zone management are going to be critical in terms of how do we sustain socioeconomic development while conserving our precious coastal and marine resources, as well as addressing issues of both land and marine-based sources of pollution. I wanted to talk about a little bit to highlight a new project that is again consistent with that broad vision of reducing marine pollution, and that is the Caribbean Regional Fund for Wastewater Management, second phase, that is co-implemented by the Inter-American Development Bank and United Nations Environment Program, and co-executed by the GIZ, by the Cartagena Convention Secretariat, and by the Organization of Association States. In Suriname, the main lead will be by the Inter-American Development Bank and by the GIZ, but as Secretariat, we'll be working very closely with them to develop and implement activities that will look at improving the policy and legislative framework, identifying new financing options, providing on-the-ground implementation of decentralized wastewater solutions, as well as focusing on knowledge management and advocacy. And the project is now in its pre-inception phase and hoping to have its inception workshop and first project steering committee in November. The other activity that we will be working with the government of Suriname on is a new project funded by the European Union, African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries that will have four major areas of focus for us as a secretariat: governance, marine biodiversity, marine pollution, and communications. And again, there are several activities under this project that we expect to get moving fully by the beginning of next year, where we believe the government of Suriname can directly benefit, including hosting of national workshops, focusing on issues of ocean governance, strengthening collaboration with the International Maritime Organization, assisting in capacity building and training, development of national pollution reduction action plans, and as I mentioned, also looking at building on the experiences of the ecosystem-based management project that we have done in Suriname with support of the CLME+. Some other activities involve looking at issues regarding the effluent discharges from domestic wastewater, implementing decentralized solutions for water and sanitation, a significant focus on the issue of waste management, particularly at a community level, and how do we deal with the issue of plastic pollution, including alternatives to single-use plastic, and focusing a lot on the aspects relating to public education and awareness. How do we have our general public more involved and committed? So all of this really comes down to four strategic areas that moving forward as a secretariat we are now looking at through all of our projects: knowledge management and communication, pollution prevention, reduction and control, marine biodiversity conservation and management, and development or enhancement of ocean-based economies or blue economy approaches. So again, I would really like to thank the ministry for affording me this opportunity to share with you. The Secretariat is available to support and provide any other information as you might need. We have a number of contacts in terms of our website, our social media, our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, our YouTube, our LinkedIn. And please feel free to reach out to us anytime. We look forward to working with the ministry in the process of ratification and in the development and implementation of new projects and activities. Thank you. Gracias. Merci.